And welcome back to the show where we keep things relatively PG, except for today, we're going to curse. Anyway. Well, somebody's going to curse. Anyway, I want to welcome back to the podcast Mr. Brandon McKelvey and Tim Morrill. This is the first time having three guys on the podcast because I figured this is the perfect opportunity to rant and or rave about the Kenobi show. We're going to be talking about the Kenobi show today with two wonderful Star Wars fans today. Humongous nerds, humongous Star Wars fans, know a lot about Star Wars, have seen the crap shows like Rebels, and have seen the good shows like the Clone Wars. So that will immediately divide up the room, I'm sure. But anyway, we're going to talk about the Obi Wan Kenobi show, season episode 1 through 6, the season finale, and it all. So, starting off with the opinion, I'll start off with me because I look pretty. I think this was a wasted opportunity. I do not think that this was a Kenobi show at the end of the day. This felt like side quests, the series. This felt like Leia's side quests. This felt like a Reva side quest, which if they're going to do a series with Reva or Leia, do it. But don't name it Kenobi. Don't say it's going to star Kenobi and then forget about Kenobi in the middle of your episodes. I think that there are moments of greatness. I really do think Ewan McGregor does a great job as Kenobi. Hayden Christensen, I love him coming back, especially at the end. I think Moses Ingram does a good job at the end, but we'll get to that in a bit. I think her character was written horribly. And little Leia was adorable, but again, written horribly. So, again, I think this entire series was spread out with good moments, but overall was disappointing. Let's hear y'all's opinions and thoughts. Brandon, why don't you go first? Because I'm excited.
Very interesting to hear. By the way, the customer is not coming until later, but anyway.
Okay, I'm excited.
But
I'm going to build up to it.
Overall, I liked Kenobi. I think they waited a little bit too late in the series for some of the good stuff. I would have liked to see more flashbacks. I would have liked to see them name Padme, like act like Padme doesn't exist. Like when Kenobi was apologizing, mentioned Padme. I thought that would have been nicer. I think they could have had more longer-haired Anakin in there. I don't even think he had hair. There were some details I think were missing for me that were just kind of like, okay, they were too noticeable.
For sure.
They were too noticeable. But overall, I thought it was okay. The best part of the series for me was the fight, by far.
For sure.
If it wasn't, I would be kind of along the lines of pessimistic with you if episode 6 didn't happen the way it did. And even episode 6, I had my qualms with it, but we can get into that.
We'll get into the fight for sure in a bit. Tim, explain to me, because I think you're a little less pessimistic than me. I think it's fair to say I'm the more pessimistic out of both of you.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm along lines with Brandon. I episode 1 and 2 was like, okay, this is cool, all right. And then 3 and 4 was bad. I wanted to like that middle fight between Vader and Obi-Wan, and there was some kind of cool things when he's, dragging him through the fire. But then the fact that Vader won't walk through fire to get Kenobi, if he hates him that much, why would he not? But overall, I think episode 5 and 6 saved it. The way I look at it is that if this was any other show and it was the same thing other than name Kenobi and this and that, then I would be like, okay, this was a good show. But this should have been like a slam dunk for Disney. Like, you're handed over Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yeah, you have the two most popular characters in all of Star Wars.
I feel like it's well, you guys don't have kids, but I don't know if you do. But I feel like it's like my kid came home and said, oh, I got a C+ on my test. And I'm like, okay, you didn't fail it, but that's cool. But then you knew the night before they were playing video games all night and they could have got an A if they would have put any effort in studying. Do you know what I mean? So it's like what it could have been, but then you're like, yeah, this is okay. But
it could have been so much more. It just
could have been so much. And that's the way I feel with Kenobi, like how I feel with episode 7, 8, 9. I just know how good it could have been.
Yeah.
So it takes away from it. Where individually 7, 8, 9, I enjoy certain things of the movies, but as a trilogy, it's crap. But that's my thing, is that I just cannot get away from the idea of what it could have been. I think I could have wrote something better. I think you could have. I think you could have.
Yeah.
Wrote something better than that. And that's fine. I mean, I think, like you're saying, they should have scaled back Reva. I think they should have scaled back Leia. I think Luke should have had a bigger part than Leia because he's on Tatooine watching Luke. That makes more sense. But,
I'm glad they didn't. I liked Leia. I thought little Leia was a gangster.
No, she was.
I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing y'all talk about. I'm like, little Leia. I loved her the entire shit. That was one of the prime characters for me, because it really, she really tied in Padme and Anakin in a little 10-year-old. Like I saw like her characteristics and I saw her attitude. Like she was just like take no BS type of, and she's 10.
Right.
I'm like,
yeah. But I think that's part of the problem. Like a lot of people have with her. Like she's 10 years old. But they're writing her like an adult.
But Obi-Wan kind of brings that up, though. So.
I don't know. I mean, because think about it. Doesn't she kind of have to be an adult? She's already a curious kid who's never been off world.
But wouldn't that be more fun?
Some people just.
She was on Mustafar.
But you got to think about who her parents are. Some people are just born with that. Like I gotta get it. I gotta have it, and that's what she has. Like it, and I think she signifies who her parents were.
That makes sense.
Okay, I like Leia's character, what you're saying. I do. My problem is I feel like with Leia having so much interaction with Obi-Wan, is it causes problems with the New Hope. Because now she knows him really well. I mean, she's always kind of knew who he was. But then I go back to the recording of years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs for you to help him. Instead of, hey, it's me, Leia. Remember you saved me? We went on this big adventure together. But when she records that video, it's almost like she's recording it, hearing about him through her father.
That plus, and I understand what you're saying, plus when he did pass away, the reaction wasn't that deep either. I do remember somebody talking about that. It's true.
But granted, with Luke Skywalker and his parents, or his quasi-parents passing, he had no reaction. And that like when.
But then he's sad that Ben dies.
It's like they're burned alive.
I'm one of those people, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you or on the podcast. I have been one of those people. I know that generation loves that version of Star Wars, and everybody wants to keep it. I've been in favor of redoing those movies.
No way.
Really?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew
Disney
you were going to say
woke
that.
the crap out of that.
It is. I know. I heard it was. I think it's written somewhere in the Lucas contract that you can't mess with the original.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, here's the
thing.
But
I'm just me personally. I'm not that big of a fan of the original trilogy. Like. Even though I'm not, I still got slightly emotional when Luke showed up on the ship. Like that, to me, I think it's just because he ties in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like what he means. But my favorite character, personally, I've said this before, was Anakin. So, 100%. Anakin's my favorite character, and Darth Vader is one of my least favorite characters, and he's one of the most popular characters.
Okay, that part I did not know. Like Anakin, I can understand, but why in the name of Mike freaking what the Neehaw mother?
Am I not a fan of Vader?
How is that? Are you not a fan of Vader? I
can explain. I can
understand. I don't agree, but I can understand the whole point of not, because we've talked about this before. Like the fights in the original trilogy aren't the greatest, even though I personally think the fight between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker,
the choreography and all that stuff.
Well, the choreography in Empire Strikes Back is a little more, samurai interested. It's not really anything that's as flashy as it's not as flashy as the prequels.
I think the Empire Luke fight is one of the best ever.
I do.
Because if you look at it, it's where he's not trying to kill Luke and he's using one hand and he's just like toying with him until Luke hits him on the shoulder. Then he's like, okay, you made me mad now. I'm going to chop off your hand. And I think that tells kind of a story in itself, unlike the like what you're saying about. I think you were saying about the fight with Kenobi and the Kenobi series. The first one is pretty bad.
It's terrible.
I mean, I thought like Vader against Reva in episode 5 when he
that's
beat
the best
her.
Fight in the series, in my opinion.
See, no, I don't agree with that, but it was close because it was. That was just masterful. Like all the movements, no lightsaber. I'm gonna dog you out without a lightsaber. Break your joint in half. Hand it back to you. I agree with you. I'm that guy here. Like that was to me the most dominant I've really seen Vader. Like
that was disrespectful.
The whole thing where he dragged Kenobi through the fire. Everybody's mad. Oh, he can go through fire. In the comics, he can. I don't care about that. I know why he didn't go after Kenobi. But the thing about it is that you gotta think Vader beat the crap out of Kenobi. He realized how weak Kenobi was. Vader was not going to find any satisfaction in beating Kenobi at his worst.
See, that part I can almost understand. Like, your explanation makes sense. But the only part where that doesn't make any sense is because immediately after, they go on the massive hunt for Kenobi. So if Vader was in that mindset of, I'm going to let you go, then why would he immediately go after and try and find him, like, aggressively? So
Ego.
I can get that.
I
but
think my explanation still remains the same.
I think it's the
even in
only
that part.
explanation that makes sense.
I
but
think it was
I
just
don't think it was
poorly
handled
written
well.
and
It was-
of how he escaped, and I think Vader
Yeah.
wanted to kill him.
100%.
But that's just my opinion.
If
But I
I
just
would
think
say
it was
this, I
horrible.
think it should have been it. When you say poor, I think the only thing they really could have added was him getting more help escaping.
And that way Wade could die. Remember Wade in the 4th episode, and we had such a moment of mourning for freaking Wade, a character that none of us knew existed until he died. Remember, like, that character, like, Wade, oh no, it was like, oh yeah, Wade. The frick is that guy?
That right. Well, my thing is the thing about Wade. I was laughing about this because I was like, first of all, who's Wade? Why are we so excited to see Wade? And then Wade dies. They come back. O'Shea Jackson come out, Roken. He says, "We got it." Walk out. Nobody asked about Wade, and I'm like, "Wait, did we just forgot about him that quick?" Like,
He died, and like, screw
he
that guy.
died. Everybody's on the ship sad. Oh, we lost Wade. Yada yada yada. It's
Yeah.
my first time losing a friend. We get off the ship. Yeah, we got it.
That's true. I didn't even consider that. They
So
forgot about
we just
Wade.
forgot about Wade.
Hey,
Oh,
but
you
we
know.
remember Wade. Because Wade is a very memorable character, apparently.
I forgot about him.
Now he's one with the Force, right?
He's one with the, like, we're going to see, like, no. George Lucas is going to go back and do another edition of Return of the Jedi. And the 4th Force Ghost is going to be Wade. It's going to be, it's going to be great.
They need to add Qui-Gon to that, by the way. Now, I didn't know.
No, Qui-Gon does not deserve anything. I am pissed at Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's a chump. Freaking took the entire series. Obi-Wan Kenobi was suffering. He was eating scrap meat from a...
I think he came at the wrong. I think they brought him in at the wrong time. I think that he should have been there when Kenobi was under the rocks. Instead of the whole thing with Luke and Leia, they could have done that. And at the very end, right before, he could have added Qui-Gon's voice. Mm-hmm. Then he may not even have to show up as a Force Ghost. In the moment, why is the Force Ghost going to show up under some rocks? Show up as a voice. Oh, I can hear him. Oh yeah, I'm back.
I think it should have been even more. I think it should, but before that, he fights him a second time. That there's a Rocky moment where he's going and training with Qui-Gon and learns to get real powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And Qui-Gon says, "I'm going to train you to get more powerful," because that would make more sense of how he just all of a sudden
Got stronger.
jumps from.
I would say that too. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think
That's the only thing that
shoulda
makes sense.
They had no training in between
Yeah.
of that at all. It's like he going from boom to wow.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, okay. Now he's picking up rocks and like I'm like,
Yeah,
where
there's
did that
no
come
logical
from?
explanation to where his power came from. When he's fighting Vader for the last time, and Vader just says, like, oh, your power's returned. Where has your power, like, where was it before? Like, how did it come back?
It was the
It
Force
would've-
Awakened.
It's just freaking Snoke's in the back. Like,
Pun intended. Pun intended.
it would have made sense if Qui-Gon actually came into the episode and trained him. Even it would have made more sense if he would have at least showed up like when he was buried or like right before, and he would have been there for a story reason. Instead, Qui-Gon showed up at the very end for sequel baiting or to see if anyone wants a season 2 of this, instead of actually contributing to this season in a story way.
I mean, it would have been sequel baiting regardless. If he showed up under the rocks, then he shows up as a Force Ghost, I would have been going crazy.
But at least you
for
would have
both.
been there when the story. I mean, it would have been stupid. Like, where have you been the whole time?
It
where's Yoda?
It to me.
Smoking a joint on Dagobah, probably.
Okay, I think Yoda, because the thing is, I remember Revenge of the Sith. Yoda said, "Much training, much you have to learn." So it's like it made it seem like Yoda was going to be involved in that. So where's Yoda now?
I think Qui-Gon was like the voice in between. So Yoda was going to be like talking to Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon would be talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi. But also, like, Qui-Gon was the guy who was supposed to be training him. So
I think
that part
Qui-Gon
makes
trained
sense.
Yoda.
Here's an idea that I feel like could have been more well received. So we didn't get that many flashbacks. We only got one flashback in all of the series with Hayden Christensen and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which, by the way, a complete waste of Hayden
it was
Christensen.
one. It
So
was one.
And somehow Hayden, Padawan Anakin looks old, but
Yeah,
okay.
friggin'
That's what I was saying. The CGI is trash.
crusty now.
CGI
But
was-
wouldn't it have been such a great idea to have another flashback when Kenobi is almost defeated by Vader, when he's under those rocks? Maybe have that flashback instead of Luke and Leia. Like, yes, I get the reason why he had those flashbacks, because this is reminding him what he's fighting for. He's fighting for Luke and Leia to start anew. But I feel like it would have been more powerful in the moment and kept it between the two characters of Anakin or Vader and Kenobi if he had a flashback to the good old times of Anakin Skywalker, and then see what Vader, what has become of his old Padawan, and that's his motivation to, nah, I'm going to end this. You deserve to die for what you've done, and then he goes after him. And I feel like that would have made the ending more impactful, especially when he sees Anakin, especially contrasting to what he was and what he is now, a cusp of a person.
Was I the only one that was really wanting Obi-Wan to like snitch and like tell the secrets that people shouldn't know? But like, you know, you couldn't do it because it's like, okay, you know, Luke doesn't find out he has a sister till episode 5.
Yeah.
So you know that certain people don't have certain information to a certain time, so you can't spoil it now. But I wanted him to say it so bad. I'm like, you have a brother. He's on Tatooine. Your father is this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted him to say it so bad, but you know you can't.
Your
like,
father is sci-fi Hitler.
No, but when he was walking up to, remember when Owen goes, "Do you want to meet him?" And he's walking up and he's got his lightsaber kind of hidden, but you know, but cloak.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how much is Luke gonna see? Because Luke
he can't see anything because he has to be surprised in A New Hope.
Yeah, because in A New Hope, he's like,
did it
he's
break?
like, you were a Jedi Knight, like my father. You know, you fought in the Clone Wars.
I have a question.
Yo.
Did it break canon for Uncle Owen to have Obi-Wan meet Luke?
No, I don't think... Well, not necessarily, because he could still go by Old Ben Kenobi, because he never said Obi-Wan Kenobi specifically. So if he goes by Old Ben, I don't think that's a problem, because Luke knows of Old Ben Kenobi in A New Hope.
Remember New Hope when he wakes up after being Tusken ready, he goes, Ben Kenobi? Like he recognized him, Ben Kenobi? Boy,
That's what I'm saying. He must have recognized him.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he said, "Boy, I'm glad to see you."
Maybe now that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's just a strange hermit.
Which, by the way, that line freaking sucks. Like, boy, I'm glad to see you. Like, I hate when people say that in
Why?
movies. Like, boy, I'm glad to see... What are you, like a cartoon character from
You
the
know
60s?
what's one of the cool things,
Get out of
though,
my
which you
face.
guys probably already know? Remember when the Tusken Raiders are, throwing everything around and you hear that weird sound and Ben Kenobi walk up?
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
Oh, that's
the Krayt Dragons.
The Krayt Dragon.
Yeah, he's making the Krayt Dragons noise to scare the Sand People.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
When we got to see that in the episode 1 of The Mandalorian, yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that's a good.
So
that was a
before the
good one.
prequels in the legends or the books history, I don't know. Uncle Owen was supposed to be Obi-Wan's brother. That was the original storyline. It changed.
That's interesting.
Now,
That's
now
interesting.
George Lucas can change whatever he wants.
Right.
But originally, and I even had a kid book where it talked about the adventures of Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon when he comes out of the temple.
Yeah.
And there's a part in it where he says, "I remember I have a brother named Owen." And so I was showing people after the the Phantom Menace came out. I go, look, Uncle Owen in episode 2 is his brother, and then it didn't happen that way. But
Yeah.
No,
I think-
that's clearly Anakin's.
I think we can
stepbrother.
all kind of agree that George Lucas didn't have everything down
No,
or ready
no.
to go. Because obviously he was kind of making stuff as he went along. Darth Vader was never supposed to be Luke's father, but all that kind of stuff just kind of evolved as we went along.
and Boba
Well,
Fett was
that's-
Jastromil from
Yeah.
Conquer Dawn, and
But that's precisely my point about why they should redo it. Like,
Oh no.
I-
No,
like
no, no, no.
I, the
no,
only
no.
the only reason why they keep the prequel movies the way they are is just for feel good. Like that to me is the only reason why.
wait, are you
would
talking
keep
about
it.
prequels or the original trilogy?
I'm sorry, the originals. They need to change the originals.
No, because
No.
they'll still hold up for time. You can show that to kids. You can see videos of kids watching Empire being surprised, and they still hold up time. And then if you give it to Disney, all they're going to do is put woke crap in it and ruin it anyway. So the only way I would be for
He
that,
said, "Well, crap."
yeah, the only way that would happen is that I would be for it happen is if George Lucas came back and did it.
But he's, saggy now. He's like Santa but fatter.
Or-
So I do love George Lucas, and I really respect what he's done. And personally, like Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie for very personal reasons, and obviously I think it's the most technically well executed Star Wars film, in my opinion. I think that film's awesome. I think it's really underrated.
Empire to me is
I
the
literally
most
have
perfect
I have a hard time like episode 3 is my favorite episode. This is gonna sound so backwards, but I have a really hard time watching it.
Why is that? Please
because
explain.
of the ending.
Oh, when he said no? The freaking...
No, just the whole...
Frankenstein?
Anakin, it bothers me that we don't get to see full power of what Anakin could become.
Oh, yeah.
That part really irks me. And
but isn't that the freaking tragedy of it?
I'm so in favor of this, and nobody's probably going to agree with this. I'm so in favor of a what if Star Wars. Like, what if Qui-Gon doesn't die? What if Anakin doesn't turn to the dark side?
Mm-hmm.
What if Dark Sidious found another apprentice? Can I go ahead? I'm just go ahead and say my curse words.
Go ahead, say the curse words. Let's go.
I've been anxious to say it.
It's the moment, ladies and gentlemen.
I am happy as hell. And Kenobi's not even one of my favorite Jedi. I love him, but I'm not like I'm a big Kenobi. But I am so happy that Kenobi beat the dog out of Vader. I'm really, really happy about it. I mean, beat the dog out of him.
I'm not.
I'm happy.
But I knew it was going to happen because
it had to happen.
It had to because there's no way he could have
it
beaten
had
twice
to happen
before A New Hope, because then A New Hope, it wouldn't make sense when he says, I left you, I was but a learner, now I'm the master. If I just beat you twice 10 years ago, so obviously Obi-Wan had to win at least one of those.
Well, the thing is, Vader technically never won. He never won. He's 0-3.
Well, I agree.
That's 1-3.
I agree.
That's
that
1-3.
I agree that Vader.
You can say you can't count that fight, but why not? It happened.
It happened. Okay, but still, 1-3 is horrible.
It is terrible.
Look,
I'll agree with you.
Kenobi is what we say in basketball. You have a 3-1 lead right now.
Hey,
he does.
Kenobi can best Anakin because he knows Anakin's weakness, but the reason why I feel like Vader did win in A New Hope is only because of Kenobi's age. Kenobi's a lot older and he's like pretty weak. Pretty old, and Vader's...
Is that the one victory that we're counting?
But Kenobi
for Vader?
also gave up. He didn't. I don't think he
did.
did.
Wait. Let me clarify something. So we're saying that
we're talking about the New Hope
fight in New Hope is the one time Vader won.
I don't even think he's a winner in that one because
I don't think so either.
Kenobi gave up. He didn't win.
He didn't give up. He saw the bigger picture. Like he said it. He said, if you strike me down, I become more powerful than ever before. Like, that wasn't a win for Vader.
If I'm playing you in a game and you give up, who wins?
But this isn't a game. This is a lightsaber.
No, but it's still. But he
could have kept going.
He realized he can't beat Vader. And remember, you're talking. I know that movie is made many years ago, so that lightsaber battle doesn't look good.
Trash.
But you're also looking at the same Vader, a day before, who's
from Rogue One. Yeah,
from Rogue One, who's clearing people.
I agree.
Like
I agree.
So that Vader versus Obi-Wan, who's been a hermit.
He was clearing people though.
So
that was a horror movie Jason moment where he's
so Vader won that as far as I'm concerned. But I think the reason why Obi-Wan always best Anakin is because he knows Anakin's thing, and Obi-Wan's style of fighting was more defense. And he knew Anakin just wanted to win so bad that he's like, I'll just take my time and let you make the mistake. Like, the high ground or that.
I think here's the thing. I think we can all agree on that Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader in most circumstances is more powerful than Obi-Wan Kenobi.
100%.
But Obi-Wan Kenobi, for the talents that Anakin Skywalker has, he never got over being brash, being overconfident, being too self-important, and going into the fight just walking through people. And he just does not take into consideration strategy, thinking ahead of time. Like, even when he was chasing Obi-Wan Kenobi in the last episode, he wasn't even diverting any attention to the rebels. He just the entire starship went after Obi-Wan Kenobi because he's just so narrow-minded and like tunnel vision that all he wants is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's all he's focused on. He's not focused on anything else. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, like I said, even in New Hope, was thinking of the big picture. And I don't think Vader... I'm a humongous Vader fan. There's a poster of Vader right there. I worship this man. I worship God first. But, again, I do believe that Vader is always more powerful than Kenobi, but he is consistently distracted by his own emotions to Kenobi, and he's always distracted by his own power.
Well, also, Kenobi also trained Vader, so he knows that. And to me, it's kind of like
That's why episode 5 made so much sense with the flashbacks, and it was like the parallels that they were going back and forth between the flashbacks and what was happening. I thought that
sure.
The writing on that was beautiful.
But it's kind of like in the boxing world or fighting world, like you have one boxer that can beat this boxer, but then it doesn't necessarily mean that he can beat everybody that boxer has beaten, because then there's some people this boxer's,
for
sure.
in thing. Like, so I think it's kind of like that. So when you see like Obi Wan, who struggles with Dooku, who gets his butt kicked constantly with Dooku, Anakin kills Dooku. So you would think Anakin can kill Kenobi,
for sure,
but he doesn't, because Obi Wan knows his thing where Anakin.
Kenobi is what we call in basketball a bad matchup for Anakin.
Yeah. And what's crazy
matchup
is that if you look at the backstory of Kenobi, he was actually not very strong in the Force. He had really low midi-chlorian count, but he was just very. I think what makes
determined.
I think what makes Obi-Wan really good is that he is a stickler to the Jedi code. He does not break that Jedi code, which could be a flaw. But
it was a flaw. That's precisely why Anakin ended up being what he was.
For that, yeah. Well, the whole Jedi,
not
the whole Jedi.
The whole,
I would
and
say,
mostly Mace Windu being an absolute prick. That guy was the worst. Like, I like Mace Windu as a Jedi. I like Mace Windu, and I just. Again, this is also partial because I like Samuel L. Jackson, but he was a prick to Anakin.
No,
he was one of the people like, man, like I don't care that he cut your hand off. You deserve to cut your hand off at that point.
I would have loved it if Mace Windu came back in the Obi Wan series because he survived, and then you had just Vader in the middle of like episode 3, like whoop his.
We have Samuel Jackson. We have Samuel Jackson consistently saying like, when am I going to get back in Star Wars? And Disney like, no, we don't like we. Why can't you bring him back?
Disney has some going on, but anyway, they should have been brought. They should have been brought Mace Windu back. I don't understand it. I'm not saying it because anyway, I'm not even gonna go there. But still,
weren't you waiting for? Remember on the second fight? I mean, the first fight when they're there and Vader's looking up at him, or maybe it was the second fight. I was just waiting for Vader to say, "Now I have the high ground." Remember when he's throwing the thing down and he's standing above? I would have loved it to have been like, "Now I have the high ground" or something like that.
I was waiting for the Bad Batch to come in.
Remember on Return? You know what's cool is if you look at
Bad Batch,
the Bad Batch.
I love
them.
So real quick, and someone pointed out that on Return of the Jedi, when Luke flips up on Return of the Jedi on the bridge, and he's high. What does Vader say? Obi-Wan has taught you well.
Because
Vader's probably like, screw that, I ain't falling for that again. You know what I mean?
Like, probably, yeah. That makes sense. I didn't even know that, but I didn't remember that, but that's hilarious.
Like, oh hell no, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing I will say is with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I know you were saying how his defensive technique, Form 3.
Yeah, Form 3 Sarisu.
So
freaking nerds in here.
Yeah. See, I know this stuff too. It's crazy.
What's Mace Windu's called?
Vapod.
Vapod.
Okay.
Vapod. Okay. Yep, I know it too. I know.
Which is a dark side.
Dark side. That's what Anakin really needed, to be honest.
Yeah.
He should. That's what he needed. A mixture of what he had with 5 and Vapod.
You know what? Mace Windu should have trained him.
If he wasn't a hardhead, but yeah. Anyway,
continue. What were you saying?
So, you mentioned Kenobi's defense was really hard for Anakin because Anakin wants to rip through you, but I mean Kenobi has Floyd Mayweather defense basically.
He was like this.
But my thing is, yeah, literally. My thing is, in that last fight, and this is why I love that fight so much. This is the first time that I've seen Kenobi go after his opponent.
Yeah.
Like, you could talk about Vader being distracted, but I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's anything Vader could have done. Kenobi was going to dog him out one way or another. And what the moves that he put on him, everything he did, he hit him all in the right spots. He punched him, hit him in his little, I forgot what they call it. In his
controller pad that's right in the middle of his chest that's glowing. And as like a boss
Which I don't
point,
understand
like,
why.
But see, I think going to what you're saying is that's what makes Vader so vulnerable is that he has to be kept alive on this suit. And I think that's why if you didn't have, Anakin, like if you did a what if, where even if Anakin turned bad, but he didn't have to, be in this suit like he was just normal. I think.
Well, if Anakin never turned bad, he would have been sitting in prison in the Republic. So I can't really.
Well,
but
no, I think he would. What I'm saying is, like, let's say he didn't lose to Mustafar or get burned like that,
Yeah.
and he's didn't have to have that suit to keep him alive. Then, like, I feel like he could take on Darth Sidious. I think the reason why he doesn't kill Darth Sidious is because Darth Sidious can do Force lightning and ruin that suit. Yep. And that's why, in order to kill him, he has to sacrifice himself, and you see the electricity going through.
For sure.
But so I think, along with what you're saying, is that he hit him in the right places, and I think that's what gives also him an advantage. Is that it's like, okay, I'll just knock your oxygen crap.
How many people have beat Vader? One?
Not many. Like, barely any. Like, if you're talking
As
about Darth Vader in
Vader?
the suit, nobody.
In canon, how many people have beat Vader?
Only pretty much, like, in
Two?
canon,
Obi-Wan?
nobody. Oh, pretty much only Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Luke. That's it.
Luke. I'm about to say Luke. Two
But
people.
even then, like, Darth Vader was not trying in Return of the Jedi.
In Empire, he could have killed Luke, but yeah, the second one is I don't think he wanted to kill his son.
No,
I think it was.
I
more
think he
just
definitely got blindsided though. Like Luke definitely turned on the dark side a little bit in the end of that fight, and really put on the rage on his
which,
father.
by the way, Obi-Wan tapped into the dark side when he chopped Maul in half. But
kind of did,
They
yeah,
said-
freaking did.
He did. But
For sure.
That's what I'm saying. My point is that he would have beat Vader. The way Kenobi was fighting, I think he would have beat anybody. Like, Kenobi turned on a different level. I don't even think he knew
He turned
had.
on a different level, but I'm conflicted on that
He went
because I
Super
don't
Saiyan.
know 100%
How
if
he
that's
got there?
necessarily within Kenobi's ability or if that's just because of bad writing. Now,
I thought he. To be honest,
I think it's bad
when he
writing.
picked both, maybe it might be a little bit of both.
I think it's a little
but
bit of both.
I will say that I thought he was because it kind of scared me, but it's like kind of shook me a little bit when all the rocks came up. I was like, wait, is he tapping into the dark side?
no, he's pulling a Mortal Kombat move right there. He watched Mortal Kombat and is like, that's the move I'm going to do. Like, push XYZ plus and then throw him all the rocks.
If you're having to pull out of another movie, it's the dark side.
if you play the game online, the Star Wars: The Old Republic takes place, years before that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the moves that you learn as a Jedi is throwing rocks and picking up rocks and throwing them at people and tree bark or dirt or whatever it is. So, but not at that extent. That reminded me of Rey when she was lifting all those rocks in The Last Jedi.
I forgot.
Yeah,
she did
freaking that sucked.
Yeah,
well, that's just because I partially just don't like Rey.
Oh, I'm one of the people. I do not like the sequel trilogy.
Oh, no, I
You
don't
can
either.
ask him.
I don't think any of us in here are a huge fan of the
No.
sequel trilogy.
Now,
I say-
if you want to talk about the biggest wasted Star Wars opportunity of all time, without a doubt, it was the last one. Without a doubt.
Oh, Rise of
Episode nine?
Skywalker. Oh, for sure.
You could just say the
9?
trilogy as a whole.
That's the ones they need to redo.
It was Force Awakens was good. What was it?
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi was trash. Now
Yeah,
that,
it was trash.
like I said, Ryan Johnson can still catch these hands to this day. Like,
Ryan Johnson is a good director and storyteller.
He is.
The problem is they didn't give him any boundaries. They had no plan. So what happened? So
He
J.J.
wrote a
Abrams,
crappy script.
So J.J. just made his and says, "Okay, Ryan Johnson."
they should have had
Do
JJ
it
all
like that.
three.
Yeah.
They should have had AJ all
No, because he would
I don't know about
recycle
that.
everything.
He couldn't end it. J.J. Abrams cannot end series.
And all he
Well,
and he can't,
somebody
and he can't
bring
come
in
up with
some
anything
extra
Mike, a
original.
little closer.
Some
Oh,
somebody.
also- sorry, I'm flipping you off.
I think
Somebody bring in some
JJ would have.
extraterrestrial help then.
I think JJ should have directed it because he's a good director.
Right.
But Filoni and Favreau should have wrote the scripts.
Yes.
Agreed, 100%.
Yes.
Think of the Mandalorian for a second. Think of where we are in Star Wars lore right now. The Mandalorian, a series about a random Mandalorian and a baby Yoda. Like, why would that be better than the Kenobi series? It is.
It shouldn't be.
And it's so much better written
It,
than that.
it shouldn't be, but let me ask you a question because I had this thought come across my mind. I don't remember what you said that made me think about this, but if you didn't like some things about Kenobi, you must not have liked Boba Fett.
Boba Fett
I
was
did not like
horrible.
Boba Fett. I thought it was a
I
humongous...
thought that
figured
was
I could
worse.
I figured I could put two and two together.
I thought that was worse. I looked
Except
it
for
up.
the
I'm not gonna
Bryce
look it
Dallas
up.
Howard directed episode of the Mandalorian. That was a good episode.
That was the problem I have with Boba Fett is what people accuse The Last Jedi of for good reason, is that you changed Luke, which is probably what made you mad, and all of us here. So you have Boba Fett original trilogy. He shows up technically in the Star Wars Holiday Special. I wouldn't suggest go look.
Well, they tried to do a Luke, not to cut you off, but they tried to make a Luke a Kenobi type figure. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah. So Boba Fett is this mysterious guy. If you pay him enough, he'll hunt down and capture anybody. He's a ruthless guy. You know, if you follow the prequels and the things, he hates the Jedi. He's just, you know, he was trained by, I think, Aura Singh and other people. And then they totally change his character. Then you get him in Mando, and it's like, cool. He's being a ruthless guy, you know, this and that. Then you get the end of the credits, and you're like, oh, cool, I can get behind this Boba Fett thing. Then you just make him this nice, reasonable guy in the
wow.
series,
He was a real
and
big
that's
fancy.
not Boba Fett.
He was such a passive character in his own show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with him in that show is that he is very much like, that's barely even his story. Like, there are episodes where he's not even in it, but at the same time, he's so passive in his own show. Like, who's the character that's his like right hand lady? What's her name? Like she drove the plot more than what's her
Fennec Shan.
Yeah, Fennec.
Fennec
Like she
Shan.
drove the plot more than he did, and she did more active stuff to actually push the story along than
She's
he
a great
did.
character.
I actually
she
like
is.
Fennec.
Someone recorded with their phone. Did you see the previews for Mandalorian 3 from Star Wars?
I saw that.
I heard
saw
about
that.
it, but I haven't seen it.
It looks really good. Dark.
looks so good.
It looks really
Well-
dark. He shows him going to his Mandalore, and you see what's her name sitting on the throne, and
You know,
he's gotta
Bo-Katan
go
and
back
him are
there
going to
and-
have that
and-
duel. They're going to have that fight.
I would love to see them. See, this is my problem with Star Wars right now. You have so many great things. You have a lot of great things, but they're not all tying together. Bring them into live action.
They're not going to do that.
They need to.
Here's the problem why they won't do that. Ever since, I'm going to bring it back to Marvel. Ever since Marvel has done their cinematic universe, and I think you will both agree with me, they have had that planned out for the most part from the beginning. At least they've had a good directive of where they're trying to go.
They had a 10-year plan.
They had a 10-year plan goal at the very least. But even as you can say now, they don't have that same goal. Like Marvel, looking at where they are now, even though they've had some pretty good movies as of recent, Phase 4 has not been that same thing. And everyone has been trying to copy that ever since. And I don't think that Star Wars is trying to do the same
DC
thing.
is starting to get better than Marvel.
Well,
now.
DC, like, that's not the
Well,
same
that's
thing,
my
though.
opinion.
DC tried that, but it didn't have the 10-year plan goal, so it stopped, and it started doing
So-
movies like The Batman and The Joker, like movies that are on its own really good, but not part of a bigger universe. Star Wars, I also believe, is somewhat doing that. It's making series and movies that are in and of itself by itself. Like, you can take the series by itself, or at least wrapped around the whole Star Wars trilogy as a whole. So I don't necessarily think it needs to be all connected. Like Mandalorian is not connected to, like, it's not a sequel to this, not a sequel to this. It's in the Star Wars universe, and it's part of it.
They should still they should still bring some of these characters. Like, why couldn't Ahsoka make an appearance in Kenobi? Why couldn't like, all right, so you got Mando, and the reason why I brought this up is because Mando's coming back. Okay, such and such, Bo-Katan is sitting on the throne, I'm sure, probably doing whatever her thing is.
Yeah.
And why not bring her sister in a flashback? I think people would appreciate that more so than random cameos.
Yeah.
From
Well,
characters
Lucasfilm-
that, you know.
I would like to see the Night Sisters appear. That's just my thing, because I love the
I
Night
can
Sisters.
kind of agree with that because the Night
Okay.
Sisters are freaking cool, and especially if both of you freaking play Jedi Fallen Order, you will really like the Night Sisters. And you're not a huge fan of the Inquisitors. You will like the Inquisitors if you play Jedi Fallen Order because that's
Who
one of
said
the
I
best
wasn't a
stories.
fan of the Inquisitors?
We talked about this last time. You weren't a huge fan of the Inquisitors.
Oh, because they're weak as hell.
Well, they are.
They're
but
weak.
You
Like,
can appreciate
Well,
them
that's
for
on
what they are
purpose,
in
I
the
think.
in this story.
Because they're not Sith. I think they're done.
No,
that
they're not.
way.
They're like, I mean,
They're done that on
they're dark
purpose.
Jedi, basically.
I mean,
Like,
that's the
it's
same
just-
thing that Riva is technically strong for what she is, but she like not even comes close to Darth Vader, and that's evident.
And if you watched Rebels, you'll see that Ahsoka handles the Inquisitors like easy.
Like chumps, like
Like
she
just-
dispatches them easily.
Yeah, he Ahsoka smacks him, like, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, farther along in the train, you got trained by arguably the best Jedi.
Yeah.
I mean, Anakin, to me, Anakin wasn't even probably 70-80% of his potential.
Mm-hmm.
And he still...
We never got to see his potential.
He was the
Yeah.
war hero. He was that guy.
Yeah.
Like, anything and everything he touched was a W.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing he couldn't beat was Kenobi. And that's because he got...
Count Dooku beat him one time, but
Man,
Count Dooku, whatever.
16-year-old Anakin.
He chopped his arm off.
The fact that Anakin could hold his own against Count Dooku at that age was ridiculous. I don't think
for like 30 seconds.
Well, he
Nah,
did
it was
end
more
up
than 30 seconds.
Listen,
It was
Anakin
more
ended
than
up being.
30
Well, I mean, that's a
Kenobi.
little exaggerating, but
So we'll say in the long run, Anakin wins because he, takes his freaking head off.
no.
He
He
wins the
rushes
fight.
in. Count Dooku does Force Lightning, throws him against the wall, knocks him out. If Obi-Wan wasn't there, Count Dooku would have just walked over and killed him.
But he
then-
didn't. Anakin was by himself, and he whooped his
No,
butt.
Anakin-
I'm not talking the second
No, I
fight.
want
I'm
him now.
talking the attack
Oh,
of
the first
Clone.
fight. Yeah, he would.
And
yeah.
then he's fighting Obi-Wan, handles Obi-Wan easily, then fights, Count Dooku and gets his arm chopped off. I don't know how.
Right.
And there's that one little time where he's got the two lightsabers that look cool.
That lasts 3 seconds.
But-
like, he got 2 lightsabers. That didn't last at all longer than you thought it would. That is horrible. But yeah, Anakin, like in the long run, yeah, he beats him. But yeah, we don't ever get to see Anakin in his full potential, which sucks.
16-year-old Anakin fighting a master,
he was.
powerful.
I believe he was.
Sith
I believe
Count
he was
Dooku.
around 20 because he was 10 on Tatooine and then 10
You're
years
right. It was
passed
10 years.
between.
He was 19. I'm sorry.
He was 16
19.
around that time, and that explains why he was such a whiny
19.
little crap the whole time.
He was 19 at the point of Attack of the
Should have been
Clones,
playing like a Game Boy or something.
and they were like, "Whatever, master."
basically.
Well, it has
Right.
Atari.
I was just impressed by what Anakin, because there's no other Jedi his age in the Jedi Order could have even sat in a fight with Count Dooku at all.
Well, Mace Windu
I think
and
Mace
Yoda
Windu,
are pretty much
yeah.
the only Jedi. Well, Mace Windu was definitely trained with Count Dooku quite a bit at the time. I feel like Mace Windu could definitely beat
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
talking about
him.
at that age.
at that age for sure,
At the
100%.
age
Oh, yeah,
At
yeah.
the age that Anakin was,
For sure.
The fact that he was able to do what he did, it was like, wow, like this guy,
Yeah,
he's gonna be a monster one day.
for sure.
And so, but we just, Anakin got cut off at age 23, and now he's just the dark side. Like, I just hate that. I could appreciate Vader for what he is. I get it. He's super
Let's
villain,
bring it
all
back
that.
around that for a second, because you had mentioned at the very beginning is that you don't like Darth Vader. I wanna, like, we're gonna go outside and fight after this, because freaking, like, if you haven't noticed, when you walk in this house, there's a freaking poster of Vader right
To be
there.
honest,
I'm a humongous fan of
I
Vader.
did not really even think about the poster.
That's
because
because you suck as a human
The
being.
one thing that I love
Probably, but
about
hey, I'll take it.
one of the things that made me love Vader is just his presence. Is that when you see him walking on the Star Destroyer on any of the movies, just the fear of people's look on their eye when they walk by.
Yeah.
Like,
Look, I'm
crap!
sorry,
Like
I'm-
he is just.
It's terrifying.
had
He is a
that.
presence.
I get
Yeah.
it. I'm never looking at Vader the same after the Kenobi show.
And you're
Well, what did you look at him before? I'm curious.
Dark figure, like honestly, like when he came in on Rogue One. When he came
Yeah.
in, he was throwing people around. I said, "Oh,
Murderous.
he's nasty. He's
But that's 10
cool."
years after
I know,
this.
I know, and that's 10 years.
But it's also, like, that's a terrible
even if you
context.
take it back to, I think it was the same episode where he fought Kenobi the first time. Was it 3
Right.
or 4?
Episode 3.
3. So when he was snapping necks and throwing people around, I mean, he had a dude lagging behind him when he was walking. I said,
Yeah, just people left.
oh my goodness,
yeah.
like this guy is crazy. And then he threw Kenobi around. I'm like, even though Kenobi wasn't, he was still in his weak state. The fact that he was able to do it in the
Yeah, the first time
place.
Obi-Wan Kenobi ran up to Vader and like Vader ignited his lightsaber and Kenobi was like, "Nope," just ran away.
ran,
It was like,
just
no.
ran. But see, here's the thing: that Vader, that had me like, oh yeah, this guy. And then
man smacks.
the Reva fight, like
Yeah.
that Vader, I loved it. But after seeing him get whooped by Kenobi, it was the manner in which they showed him getting whooped by Kenobi. I can't look at him the same.
That's not the same though, because Vader, like, I feel like the only reason Vader won the fight is because he's so emotional. And because he's not thinking straight with Kenobi.
Well, I mean,
because you think of it like when he's walking
that's
through the
precisely
hallways.
my problem with him, because he's way more emotional than people think. He's way more emotional than people
That's
think.
what makes him a great character, though. Like, that's what brings him back when Luke
It does,
Skywalker
but that
gets him back in
emotion,
Return
that
of the
emotion
Jedi.
when he goes up against the wrong thing or the wrong person, that's what gets him smacked.
But I
But
think
that
it's
it
only
is true,
kind
because
of like
that's why
the-
he loses in freaking Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
And that's what makes him a great character, because he's a dark horrible person. Like, Vader's a terrible person, but he is always like this much close to coming to the dark, because Anakin's like, there's always that sliver of Anakin in Vader, and we can always see that, and we know that
it's
no
more
one
than a
else
sliver.
could bring that out except potentially his daughter and his son. That's it.
I just think that Obi-Wan just has his number. I
agree.
I think that it's just, and that was the point of the whole episode 5 of the lesson, when they're fighting, is that he just is just
Yeah.
Anakin never learned to control his emotions and stuff. And I think he could whip anyone else, but I just think Obi-Wan, just being his master, been around him for
He's just
10
triggered,
years
yeah.
and trained him, just knows. I remember years ago, because I grew up in California, and I have friends that are like took Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and trained with the Gracies. And they said to me once, one guy said to me once that there was, when the Gracies came out at first and trained like a lot of the Americans, there was like 5 or few moves that they would keep to themselves. So it was like, we're training you all this, but there's these few things we're keeping to ourselves. So basically, we can always master you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Now, I don't know how legit that is true. So I'm wondering if maybe Obi-Wan's like, I'm always... Like, you know how like you get bigger and you grow up, but there's always that unwritten rule that your dad can whip your no matter how big you
For
get.
sure.
Like, he could be old, but you just know, like, for some reason, your dad can still kick your butt. And I think that is
You
where
can get
maybe
Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee's
psychological...
dad's in the background and is like, "What you say, boy?" He's like, "I'm sorry."
Because he's still calling Obi-Wan master even in this show.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, psychological. And then you also have the Emperor kind of feeling that little bit attachment still at the end of
Yeah.
episode 6. Like, are you conflicted?
Kenobi means nothing. He's like, yeah,
like,
sure it
yeah,
does.
right.
Yeah.
Remember, did you guys read the Vader comic where Vader
I read
has
the good.
this...
I read the good Vader
I've
comics
never
back
read
in the
a
day.
Vader
I didn't
comic,
read
and
the
I
crappy
don't
new
plan
ones.
on it.
Remember, there's like Vader has a vision where he fights someone and loses and goes back to Kenobi and says, and his lightsaber turns green, and his lightsaber's green, and he realizes he's not full bad, and he goes back to Kenobi and says, "I'm sorry," and this and that. And then
I do remember that, yeah.
He comes to a point in his training at the beginning where he can either go back to the light side or this. And then you realize he's seeing a flash forward, but then he chooses the dark side on that. And so I just think he's always conflicted. And I think the Emperor knows that, but
He uses that to his advantage.
yeah.
But all the teasing and, do I sense Anakin in there? Are you still your feelings?
Yeah.
Manipulation, and it's weird.
Emperor has him on the leash all the time.
Emperor obviously wants to
He
replace
has
him
him
with
on
Luke
an emotional leash
from the beginning.
You said had him what?
And I think once the Emperor knew Luke was alive, it was like, okay, I'm replacing you
Yeah.
with Luke. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole trap. Like, take your father's place at my side. I'd probably be like, screw you. Like, take your place at my
Yeah.
Take your
well,
place
that's
after
also
what
the
you
rule.
see.
Of
I mean, like, I would tell
I saw what you
Sidious,
just
like,
did with
screw
my
you.
father. Yeah, I'm gonna come and serve you. What?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what the freaking Vader's thinking when he's down on the ground and is like, "Good, take your father's place at my side." Vader's like, "What? What?"
I would have been like,
if
if I was Luke, I'd been like, okay, I'll join, but my dad's going to train me. That's my only deal.
That's your what?
That's
What
my deal.
That's stupid. No. No.
I'm just saying that would be me. I'd be like, okay, because, I want to bond with my dad and get
Yeah,
to know
but now
him.
your friends are dead. It's like, hey, Han Solo and Chewie, they just got skinned alive in the
But
background.
then me and Vader can take out the Emperor later,
Well, maybe, but yeah, actually,
I'm just telling you what I would do.
maybe the long plan around. But I mean, everything worked out in the end. But we'll say, like, what if the Death Star destruction and everything didn't work out, and Vader and Luke did end up joining and like end on the side, like, yo, let's stab him in the face. Let's do that right now.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, think about this what if that I was talking about earlier. Think about what Marvel did. Did y'all watch the What If series?
I didn't.
I only watch good TV series. So unfortunately, yeah, that means I watched it and I hated it.
I liked it. It was funny to me.
It's okay.
But
It's
they
okay.
brought those things into Doctor Strange.
Yep.
I love that. Now I didn't.
I agree.
I'm not
His
saying
episode was the best.
I'm not saying that I like the whole the movie. I think they missed on that one. I think they could have done the multiverse movie itself. Doctor Strange, that could have been better.
I kind of liked it because we got Mommy Wanda, and for that Mommy Wanda for two different reasons. But at the same time, like, I freaking love Wanda in that movie so much that it entirely eclipses anything that happens with Doctor Strange. Like, for me, that's a Wanda movie. I don't care. Like, Doctor Strange, like, whatever. But Wanda, yeah. Anyway, that's entirely different.
Someone brought up, I saw a video, and you probably seen it, or maybe you guys have, where technically Rebels sets up an alternate universe of 7, 8, and 9.
Now I know what you're getting into.
Because when he goes through the world before worlds and saves Ahsoka, then all of a sudden you have Ahsoka taking Grogu to Luke, but originally in the comic books or the story is that Ben was Luke's first apprentice. And so now you have Grogu where he was no longer given his blood for Snoke. And you have none of this, and then, changes the whole output of it. So you could have it where now it's been changed because of the world between worlds.
I like time travel in Star Wars. I want someone to go back and
think that's so
try
stupid.
I have
try to
mixed
convince.
feelings.
I know you told me that before. I think I love it, and I would love for someone to go convince. Hey, Anakin, don't be an idiot. All right, I'm gonna.
Just show up and like once Anakin's having that little like meltdown at the Jedi Temple, someone walks up and like smacks him in the face, like cut that
snap out of it.
It's like, no, just let Mace Windu murder
Your
him.
alter ego is trying to ruin the entire universe. Don't do it.
Could Mace Windu have murdered him, or was Darth Sidious giving?
See, I think Darth Sidious was doing that because he knew Anakin was going to
I think
come.
so.
But I do think that Mace Windu was one of the Jedi that could kill Palpatine, that could stand up to Palpatine.
Man, I might be biased. Mace Windu was kicking Sidious's because he was kicking his point blank in the period.
That's a strange sentence. Well, here's the thing. Vapad, in and of itself, draws off of dark energy. If the Emperor is the dark side, is essentially the dark side incarnate.
He was making
he was making Windu more powerful. But here's the thing. I also think that there is a strategy to that. The Emperor may have known this and essentially played the weak part and let Anakin come in because he knew Anakin was coming in.
Because
he
can't be on the offense because he's telling Anakin that the Jedi are trying to take over. So if he's doing the offense like he's whooping and about to kill him, then that wouldn't make sense to Anakin. So he's like, I told you the Jedi are trying to take over. So he makes Anakin think like, remember, he doesn't have his lightsaber, and he's back like this. And Mace Windu's like, I got to end this. And so he's like, no, please don't kill me. So he's playing the victim like, yeah, I told you the Jedi are going to take over. Help me. So, I mean, it's possible, like what you're saying. But
as soon as he gets the opportunity, he says, unlimited power.
But
and
Darth
like
Sidious did take out 3 Jedi like nothing. Kit Fisto and
Kit Fisto.
Well, they were nothing. They're
not,
anything.
but they're not Mace. Like they're not Mace.
They didn't execute it right. But if you read what,
I don't think they could have seen what was coming though.
Well, when he does the twisty thing and makes that weird noise, it actually dazes them in the book. I mean, it doesn't do it right in the movie, but he does some kind of weird force screen power.
He jumps all the way across the room, spinning like he's Taz or something like.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be like all like disoriented, and that's how he was able to kill him. But they don't.
It didn't.
George
Lucas didn't look right. No. I know what you're saying. It didn't look right. Like it should have been real swift. It was kind of slow.
That was the worst fight in Revenge of the Sith. By far,
yeah, it could have been awesome. It could have
been great, but like what they were doing,
it was the worst. It was bad at the beginning. Now the Mace versus Sidious fight was actually good though.
And if you look at behind the scenes, the way they had done it was they were trying to do a little more CGI within that area because the Emperor is, an old man, and I'm not faulting Ian McDiarmid for that at all. But because of that, they were saying like, let's do a little more CGI in this scene. But because Lucas was saying like, no, we need to do a little more close-ups in this. I feel like that kind of ruined it. But I will say, again, I do credit Lucas to this. Like, he's willing to take risks in this area, which I don't think that anyone credits the prequels enough for. Like, all of that was a humongous risk on George's part. And in my opinion, Revenge of the Sith paid off. Revenge of the Sith. Slur my words. That's terrible.
You say you don't blame Ian for being old. I mean,
well, he had to age at some point. He can't just remain young. How dare you be old?
Younger.
You guys have seen
grow younger right now.
You guys have obviously seen the original trilogy before George Lucas did the updated version, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so remember it's
I grew up on the VHS version of it.
So remember when Vader contacts the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back on his, he's talking to him in the hologram and it's a different one. Did you know that's actually a female actress playing the Emperor? That's not Ewan McDermott.
It's freaking weird.
I forgot about that, but that is true.
Yeah, that's.
It's weird as all get up. Well, and Boba Fett's voice was originally different too, different actor.
So going way back, you guys probably know this. I'm just going to throw it out there. Why is General Grievous coughing?
Because he's not 100% a cyborg. He used to be a person.
Yeah, but if you look at the old
And he has asthma.
Clone War, when it first came out, there were these little segments before it became a series. There's an episode where Mace Windu pulls open his sting, and I think Force pushes him or does something, and that's what damages Grievous.
Respiratory system.
And why he's
Yeah.
has a problem with coughing.
We just
But
assume he has
opens it.
asthma.
Yeah.
I'm actually just. I'm pretty sure Grievous had COVID before it existed, but
He tear his body open and is like, oh, that's the long-term effects of COVID. All right, well, I think that's a good stopping point. Oddly enough, COVID is a good stopping point for the podcast. Yeah, we'll make that. Yeah, sure, we'll do that.
At least Darth Vader practiced with the mask, you know.
Yeah, no, Vader's a good idea as well for
Vader
COVID.
never
Take off
catch-
his mask. Like this is what happens when you get COVID.
it's impossible. I was about to say the complete opposite. You just said that COVID is the reason why Vader looked like the way he does. So
This is what happens when you get COVID.
this happens when you get COVID. Take the mask off.
You turn into an old man pasty boy with no hair.
Oh, you sound like you have a voice vocabulary because you have a hole in your throat from smoking all your life.
That's how we're gonna end today on this podcast. That's the way we're gonna go out.
Don't get
Jeez.
COVID, y'all.
Don't get COVID, y'all. It's bad for your health. You'll end up like Vader or Grievous. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on and talking absolute nonsense with me for a while and proving that absolutely none of us should have a social life. The fact that we are able to name Vapod at the very beginning. Like, what's the form that freaking Mace wouldn't have Vapod?
Yeah, it's
And
a miracle
Ceresa.
that I'm married and have kids, you know.
It's like I'm the living stereotype. I have no relationship. I'm wearing a Grumpy Cat shirt, talking to a skull. Y'all at least have relationships. I got none of that crap.
Estranged marriage counts.
Yeah, strange marriage counts. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for today. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you watching. Steve says bye, but not really because he doesn't breathe.
It's Larry.
It's Steve. Get out of my face, and they can't even tell what you're saying.
That is Steve.
His name is Steve.
I thought it was Grievous.
That is shocking.
Like the Mandalorian.
Shockingly accurate. Yeah, we could say, all right, don't get COVID, kids, and Ernesto, roll those credits.